For 5 years they waited. 5 years for someone to ask what happened. 5 years for someone to listen. 5 years for justice. In Bengal, many stories disappeared after the headlines moved on. Stories of women who say they were attacked, threatened, humiliated, silenced, raped after the 2021 assembly elections. Stories that became statistics, stories that became political arguments, stories that eventually faded from public memory. But what if those stories never really ended? What if the victims were still waiting? Namaskar, I am Sonam Singh and you are watching Organiser This Week. This week, Organiser brings you an issue that is not easy to read, nor was it easy to report, because this edition is about a memory. It is about people who refuse to forget. It is about the justice that has been delayed by 5 years. It is about democracy being challenged by the same people who are part of it. It is about civilizational resilience of Hindus. It is about Bharat's ability to stand up, recover and move forward despite every challenge thrown at it. And now let's begin with our cover story. This week's cover story carries a haunting image and even more haunting title: Bengal's daughters await justice. 5 years ago, Bengal witnessed one of the darkest chapters in its recent political history. Allegations of widespread post-poll violence emerged from various parts of the state. Houses were attacked, families fled villages, political workers disappeared from their homes. And among the most disturbing allegations were those of sexual violence against women. At that time, many victims were too frightened to speak. Many believed nobody would listen. Many feared that speaking out would invite more and more violence. This week, Senior Assistant Editor Nishant Kumar Azad returns to Bengal and meets these women once again. What follows is not simply a political report, it is a collection of testimonies. Women narrating how they approached police stations only to feel abandoned, families recalling how they left their homes overnight, victims describing how fear became a permanent part of their lives. The report forces readers to confront an uncomfortable question. Can democracy truly succeed if citizens are punished for their political choices? And can reconciliation ever happen without the truth? The cover story is difficult. It is emotional, it is disturbing, and above all, it is necessary, because history cannot be allowed to erase the voices of victims. The cover story follows naturally into the week's editorial by Shri Prafull Ketkar, titled Justice Awaited. The editorial says that the 2026 election results in Bengal was not merely a change of government, it was also a rejection of fear, a rejection of political violence, and a demand for accountability. The editorial revisits the observations made by the Calcutta High Court regarding post-poll violence and reflects on the larger questions confronting Bengal today. How does a society heal after years of fears? How do institutions regain credibility? And most importantly, how do victims regain faith in the justice system? The editorial reminds us that democracy is not just about elections, it is also about protecting citizens after elections are over. Continuing with Bengal, the issue carries an important interview of Cabinet Minister of Bengal, Agnimitra. In this conversation, she speaks about the responsibility of the new government towards victims of post-poll violence. In this interview, she has again and again urged the survivors to come forward and assure them that their voices will be heard. This interview goes much beyond politics. It talks about the questions of governance, accountability, and the difficult process of rebuilding trust between its citizens and the state of West Bengal. The Bengal discussion continues with another powerful interview of Sukhendu Sekhar, who is a former TMC Rajya Sabha MP, that says that denial of crimes against women has become a recurring feature of West Bengal's political discourse. Looking back at incidents stretching over several years, he suggests that acknowledging the problem is the first step towards solving it. Taken together, the cover story and these two interviews create perhaps the most comprehensive section on Bengal published by Organiser in recent months. But this issue is not only about Bengal's pain, it is also about Bengal's contribution to Bharat's national awakening. This year marks the 150 years of Vande Mataram, a song that inspired freedom fighters, a song that became a symbol of resistance, a song that transformed patriotism into a mass movement. In his article, Dr. Manmohan Vaidya reflects on Bengal's historic role in shaping India's national consciousness. The piece draws connections between the spirit of Vande Mataram and contemporary developments in the state of West Bengal. The argument is simple yet very profound. Political change may come and go, but civilizational currents run much deeper, and those currents continue to shape the destiny of societies. From Bengal's cultural awakening, the magazine takes us to Rajasthan. 450 years after the Battle of Haldighati, the memory of Maharana Pratap continues to inspire millions. Why? Because some battles are bigger than military victories. Some battle becomes symbols of courage, self-respect, resistance. This special report carries remarks by RSS Sarsanghchalak Dr. Mohan Bhagwat, who says that Haldighati represents the triumph of civilizational spirit of Bharat. The article explores why Maharana Pratap remains relevant even today and why his legacy continues to resonate across generations. Now, as Bharat marks 50 years of the emergency, Organizers carries a major feature titled Sangh Society and Restoration of Democracy. For younger readers, the emergency may seem like a distant history, but the article reminds us why it remains even relevant today. A time when opposition leaders were jailed, when newspapers faced censorship, when democratic freedoms were suspended, and when ordinary citizens were forced to decide whether they would remain silent or resist. The feature revisits the role played by RSS Swayamsevaks and countless ordinary citizens in restoring democratic life. It is both a historical account and a reminder that democracy survives only when society refuses to surrender. When you finish reading this week's Organizer, one thought stays with you, whether it is the daughters of Bengal waiting for justice, whether it is the cry of Vande Mataram that once united a nation, whether it is Maharana Pratap refusing to surrender, or whether it is the struggle against the emergency. Every story in this issue is ultimately about courage, to resist, to remember, to speak, and sometimes the courage to simply survive years waiting for the justice. This is not just another Organizer edition. This is a reminder that truth must be delayed, it cannot be buried forever. To read all these stories in detail, pick up the latest issue of Organizer. I am Sonam Singh. Thank you for watching.